We often think of cities as places of opportunity, vibrant hubs where millions of stories unfold every day. We see the gleaming skyscrapers, the bustling streets, the endless stream of people chasing their dreams, oblivious to the quiet darkness that can sometimes fester beneath the surface. It's a comforting illusion, this facade of order and progress, built upon the bedrock of shared civility and presumed safety. But beneath the polished exteriors of our lives, beneath the thin veneer of normalcy, lurk shadows, secrets, and sometimes unimaginable horrors that remind us how fragile our sense of security truly is. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? That the very fabric of our perceived safety can be so easily torn, revealing the monstrous capacity for cruelty that can exist, hidden in plain sight. If delving into the complex psychology of crime, the relentless pursuit of justice, and the darkest corners of the human spirit resonates with you, then please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join our community as we explore stories that challenge our perceptions and test our resolve. Today, we delve into one such story, a chronicle of fear, a hunt for a ghost, and the unraveling of a city's soul. The first call came in the dead of night, a Tuesday in late spring, as the city of Viridian, a sprawling metropolis nestled on the coast, known for its vibrant art scene and burgeoning tech industry, was just beginning its slumber. Detective Miles Corbin, a man whose weary eyes had seen too many sunrises from the grimy confines of a police cruiser, answered his phone with a grunt, the familiar dread coiling in his gut. A body had been found in an abandoned warehouse in the city's industrial district, a place usually only disturbed by the whisper of rats and the occasional homeless encampment. Corbin arrived to find the scene illuminated by the flickering blue and red of police sirens, painting the rain-slicked concrete in an eerie, pulsating light. The warehouse, a hulking skeleton of rusted steel and broken windows, seemed to exhale a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. Inside, under the stark beams of floodlights, lay the victim, a young woman, identified later as Sarah Jenkins, a 24-year-old barista from the trendy downtown district. Her death was not a typical street crime. There was no sign of forced entry, no struggle, no robbery. She lay meticulously arranged on a faded tarpaulin, her clothes undisturbed, save for a small, perfectly cut incision on her left wrist. What truly chilled Corbin, a man hardened by decades of urban violence, was the tableau surrounding her. Around her head, arranged in a precise, almost artistic circle, were 7 small, polished obsidian stones. Each stone glinted faintly, reflecting the harsh light like miniature, dead eyes. "No ID on her, sir. No purse, no phone, nothing?" Officer Miller, a rookie with wide, terrified eyes, reported, his voice barely a whisper. "Forensics is on the way, but this feels different." Corbin nodded, his gaze sweeping the scene. The killer had been careful, meticulous. There were almost no discernible footprints, no obvious trace. It was as if Sarah Jenkins had simply been placed there, a morbid offering. The obsidian stones, however, spoke volumes. They were an intentional statement, a signature. The media, initially, treated Sarah Jenkins' death as an isolated tragedy, perhaps a drug deal gone wrong, or a domestic dispute that had spiraled into horror. Viridian was a city of millions. Violent crime, while not daily, was certainly not unheard of. But Corbin felt a gnawing unease. This was too clean, too deliberate. The obsidian stones burrowed into his mind, an inexplicable detail that suggested a methodical mind, not a frenzied act. 2 weeks later, the city's complacency shattered. Another body was found, this time in a quiet suburban park on the city's affluent north side. Michael Chun, a 39-year-old financial analyst, was discovered by a dog walker at dawn, his body positioned on a park bench as if merely sleeping. But the same small, precise incision marked his right ankle, and around his head, again, were 7 identical obsidian stones, gleaming ominously in the morning light. Suddenly, the isolated tragedy became a horrifying pattern. 2 victims, seemingly unconnected, a young barista and a seasoned financial analyst. Different demographics, different parts of the city, Yet the method was chillingly identical. The media erupted. The Obsidian Killer, they dubbed him, a name that struck fear into the hearts of Viridian citizens. News anchors breathlessly reported on the details. Psychologists offered speculative profiles, and every shadow seemed to hold a lurking threat. Corbin found himself at the helm of a rapidly assembled task force, his office wall quickly becoming a chaotic mosaic of victim photos, location maps, and cryptic notes about Obsidian. No forced entry again. Detective Eva Rostova, a sharp, analytical mind who served as Corbin's second-in-command, reported after examining Chen's autopsy. No signs of struggle, no sexual assault, just a clean kill, almost like a medical procedure. And the stones. The stones are the key, Corbin grunted, rubbing his temples. The killer wasn't just killing. He was performing a ritual, leaving behind a calling card that was both unsettling and utterly devoid of a logical motive. Why Obsidian? Why 7 stones? What connects a barista and a financial analyst? The lack of apparent connection was the most baffling element. Sarah Jenkins was a free spirit, lived paycheck to paycheck, socialized in bohemian cafes. Michael Chun was a family man, meticulous, ambitious, lived in a sprawling house with a manicured lawn. There was no overlap in their social circles, no shared workplaces, no known history. It was as if the killer was plucking victims at random, or perhaps with a logic so twisted, it defied conventional understanding. Viridian began to change. Nightlife dwindled. People locked their doors earlier, checked their rearview mirrors more often. The once bustling parks became desolate after dusk. There was a palpable tension in the air, a collective holding of breath. Parents walked their children to school with a nervous glance over their shoulders. The city's vibrant pulse had been muted by the chilling whisper of the Obsidian Killer. Corbin and his team worked around the clock, chasing ghosts. They interviewed everyone. The victims' families, friends, colleagues, ex-lovers. They pored over phone records, bank statements, surveillance footage. But it was like trying to catch smoke. The killer left no forensic signature, no fingerprints, no DNA that could be matched, no weapons. The only thing they had was the ritualistic arrangement and the inexplicable stones. This guy is a ghost, Miles, Rostova sighed one evening, tossing a stack of dead-end reports onto Corbin's cluttered desk. He's operating with an efficiency we rarely see. Almost like he knows how we work, how we'll investigate. Corbin looked at the map, pushing pins into the locations of the 2 murders. The distance between them was significant, suggesting the killer was mobile, comfortable operating across different socioeconomic divides. He's not a ghost, Eva. He's a man, flesh and blood. And he's out there watching us, watching the city. He traced an imaginary line between the 2 pins. There has to be something, some connection we're missing. Something internal to them, not external. Something only he saw. The thought was chilling. The killer wasn't targeting people for who they were on the surface, but for something hidden, something deeply personal that he somehow unearthed. It was a terrifying form of intimacy, an invasion of the soul before the final, precise cut. The Obsidian Killer wasn't just taking lives. He was stripping away the illusion of privacy, the last bastion of individual sanctuary in a crowded world. And Viridian held its breath, waiting for the next whisper of shadow. The fear in Viridian became a tangible entity after the 3rd body was discovered. This time, the victim was Dr. Elias Vance, a beloved and highly respected geriatrician, found in his elegant private practice office. The scene mirrored the others with terrifying precision. No forced entry, no struggle, the small, clean incision on his neck this time, and the 7 obsidian stones meticulously arranged around his head, glinting in the sterile office light. Dr. Vance, a man who dedicated his life to caring for the elderly, seemed the antithesis of the previous victims, further baffling the task force. The city was gripped by a full-blown panic. Schools canceled evening events, businesses saw a sharp decline in foot traffic after dark, and gun sales reportedly surged. The police department faced unprecedented pressure from the mayor's office, from the media, and from the terrified public. Rumors spread like wildfire the killer was a Satanist, a vigilante, a political extremist. Every shadow held suspicion, every stranger a potential threat. The FBI was called in. Special Agent Sarah Chun, a brilliant profiler known for her uncanny ability to unravel the twisted logic of serial killers, arrived from Quantico. Her presence was a double-edged sword, a welcome infusion of resources and expertise, but also a stark reminder of the gravity of the situation. Chun was sharp, focused, and utterly devoid of the cynicism that had settled over Corbin like a second skin. "The consistency is remarkable," Chun stated during their first briefing, her voice calm and measured as she clicked through slides displaying crime scene photos. "The precision of the cuts, the arrangement of the stones, the lack of struggle or defensive wounds. This isn't random. This is highly organized, ritualistic. Our killer is intelligent, meticulous, and operating under a deeply ingrained, personal belief system." Corbin, initially wary of the federal intrusion, found himself grudgingly respecting Chen's insights. But the victims, Agent Chun, a barista, a financial analyst, a doctor. What's the thread? Chun walked to a whiteboard drawing a Venn diagram. On the surface, nothing. Demographics, socioeconomic status, geographical locations disparate. But what if the connection isn't external but internal? What if he's not choosing them for who they are, but for what they represent or what they hide? She tapped the center of the diagram. "I believe our killer sees something in these individuals that we don't. A flaw, a secret, a perceived hypocrisy. He's not just killing, he's delivering a judgment." The obsidian stones, historically, are protective, but also used in rituals of scrying and truth-telling. 7 is a number of spiritual significance, completion, perfection. He might see himself as an agent of purification, revealing hidden truths. The profile Chin built was chilling. A male, likely in his late 30s to early 50s, intelligent, well-spoken, probably charming. Someone who could easily blend into any social setting, someone who wouldn't arouse suspicion. He would be meticulous in his personal life, highly organized, and likely derive immense satisfaction from the control he exerted over his victims and the city. He might even enjoy the media frenzy, seeing it as validation of his mission. The task force redoubled its efforts, focusing on the internal lives of the victims. They delved deeper, digging into their pasts, their relationships, their private struggles. And slowly, agonizingly, a faint pattern began to emerge. Sarah Jenkins, the free-spirited barista, had secretly been stealing from her employer to support a burgeoning gambling addiction. Michael Chen, the successful financial analyst, had been subtly manipulating his clients' investments for personal gain, close to being exposed. Dr. Elias Vance, the beloved geriatrician, had faced a string of malpractice lawsuits years ago, quietly settled out of court, concerning the questionable overmedication of some of his elderly patients for his own research benefit. None of these secrets were widely known. They were hidden, buried, carefully guarded. "He knows their secrets," Corbin whispered, a cold dread washing over him. "He finds the rot beneath the veneer. But how? How does he get close enough to know these deeply personal, hidden shames?" Chen's eyes narrowed. "He's not just observing. He's engaging. He could be a professional who elicits confidence as a therapist, a lawyer, a spiritual advisor, or someone who has access to private records. Or even simpler, someone who cultivates relationships, offering a sympathetic ear, and then weaponizing that trust." The investigation shifted, focusing on professionals who might have had access to such intimate details. Therapists, lawyers, even community leaders. It was a needle in a haystack, and the haystack was the entire city of Viridian. Then came the fourth victim, Angela Reyes, a prominent defense attorney known for her fierce advocacy, found in her home library. The incision was on her left temple, and the 7 obsidian stones formed a perfect circle around her head. Her secret, uncovered by the task force's frantic digging, was a devastating one. She had routinely suppressed crucial evidence in several high-profile cases, allowing guilty clients to walk free. The killer, now dubbed the Confessor by Agent Chun, was escalating. He was becoming bolder, operating in more exposed locations, perhaps fueled by the terror he had unleashed. He was challenging them, daring them to understand his twisted justice. One evening, a cryptic email landed in the Viridian PD's anonymous tip line. It was short, devoid of any identifying metadata, but the content sent a shiver down Corbin's spine. It contained a single, chilling sentence. The city's soul bleeds from its hidden wounds. I am merely the physician of truth. Attached was a low-resolution photograph, grainy but clear enough to make out a collection of 7 small, highly polished obsidian stones, arranged on a black velvet cloth. It was a direct taunt, a message from the confessor himself. He's watching the news, Chen murmured, staring at the screen. He's enjoying this. He believes he's righteous. Corbin felt a surge of cold fury. He believes he's God. We need to find him before he claims another soul. Before he claims the entire city. The pressure on the task force became almost unbearable. Sleep became a luxury, stress a constant companion. Every lead was a dead end, every suspect cleared. The confessor seemed to float through the city, an invisible predator, preying on secrets, leaving only fear and the cold, unblinking eyes of his obsidian stones. The coils of fear tightened around Viridian, and the hunt for the serpent grew desperate. The breakthrough, when it finally came, was almost agonizingly small, easily overlooked amidst the mountain of data. It wasn't a fingerprint, nor a DNA match, but a subtle anomaly in the confessor's chilling email. Agent Chun, with her meticulous attention to detail, had noticed a minute, almost imperceptible watermark on the attached image file, a microscopic digital signature. It pointed not to a specific location, but to a very particular type of software, an obscure image editing program favored by a niche community of digital artists and archivists. Corbin initially scoffed. A software program? That's our lead. Chun? We're looking for a killer, not a graphic designer. But Chun was resolute. This killer is meticulous, detective. He leaves nothing to chance. He probably created that watermark himself, perhaps even designed the program or had unique access to it. It points to a specific skill set, a specific circle. It narrows the haystack, even if only slightly. They cross-referenced the names of all individuals with known artistic or archiving backgrounds who also had any tangential connection to the victims, no matter how remote. Hundreds of names appeared. But then, a name surfaced that sent a jolt through Corbin. Dr. Julian Thorne. Dr. Thorne was not just any individual. He was Viridian's esteemed director of the city archives, a man celebrated for his work in preserving local history, a pillar of the community, known for his erudite lectures and philanthropic endeavors. He was exactly the kind of highly intelligent, well-respected, and utterly unassuming individual Chen's profile had predicted. And more importantly, he also ran a small, private history and memory preservation consultancy, where he often interviewed community members, archiving their personal stories and photographs, a perfect cover for eliciting intimate details and hidden shames. Corbin recalled seeing Dr. Thorne on local news, calm and articulate, offering soothing words about the city's resilience during the height of the panic. He was too perfect. A quiet investigation into Dr. Thorne began. His home, a sprawling Victorian on the historical register, was placed under surveillance. His online footprint was meticulously scrutinized. What they found was alarming. Thorne was an avid collector of historical artifacts, including ancient ritualistic items and geological specimens. Among his online purchases, numerous batches of polished obsidian stones. His personal journals, digitized from an old blog he maintained, revealed a deeply disturbing philosophy, a belief in societal decay, a fervent conviction that modern society was riddled with hypocrisy and moral rot, and a desire to cleanse it through acts of truthful revelation. He spoke of himself as a surgeon of the soul, bringing light to the darkness others concealed. The pieces clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Thorne wasn't just a collector. He was the confessor. His archival work, his community engagement, his very public persona as a benevolent historian, all were carefully constructed masks, providing him access and cover to identify his targets. He wasn't seeking out random victims. He was seeking out individuals whose public image starkly contrasted with a hidden, personal transgression. The task force obtained a warrant. The raid on Dr. Thorne's home was meticulously planned, executed in the pre-dawn hours. Corbin, Chen, and Rostova were at the forefront. As they breached the elegant old house, the air was thick with the scent of old paper and something else, something metallic and faintly antiseptic. They found Thorne in his study, bathed in the soft glow of a desk lamp, meticulously cleaning a set of surgical scalpels. He didn't resist. He simply looked up, a faint, almost pitying smile on his face, as if he had been expecting them. "So you found me," he said, his voice calm, utterly devoid of surprise or fear. "Took you long enough. I confess, I was beginning to wonder if Viridian deserved its purging." His confession was chilling in its casualness. He spoke of his victims not with remorse, but with a detached, clinical pride, detailing their hidden shames, his reasons for choosing them, and the justice he believed he was delivering. He saw himself as a societal cleanser, a moral architect, using the obsidian stones as symbols of truth and reflection, forcing society to confront its own inherent darkness. "They were all living a lie," Thorne explained, gesturing around his study, as if the ghosts of his victims were listening. "They presented themselves as virtuous, as upstanding citizens, but beneath that thin veneer, corruption, hypocrisy. I merely shone a light on their true nature. The cuts were symbolic, a severance of their falsehoods, a cleansing." He was a monster cloaked in the guise of intellectualism and civility, a terrifying manifestation of self-righteous delusion. The arrest of Dr. Julian Thorne sent another shockwave through Viridian, perhaps even greater than the fear of the killings themselves. The confessor wasn't a shadowy figure from the fringes of society. He was one of their most respected citizens, a man who had walked among them, smiled at them, and then quietly, methodically, executed his twisted vision of justice. The revelation shattered the last vestiges of the city's illusion of safety. If someone like Thorne, so seemingly benevolent, could harbor such darkness, who else? In the aftermath, the city grappled with its trauma. The trials of Dr. Thorne were a media circus, but he remained unrepentant, using the courtroom as another platform for his warped philosophy. He was eventually convicted on all counts and sentenced to multiple life terms, ensuring he would never again walk free. For Corbin and Chen, the case left indelible scars. Corbin found himself looking at everyone differently, forever questioning the hidden lives beneath the public masks. Chen, despite the triumph of solving the case, carried the weight of the city's collective trauma, the chilling knowledge that such evil could be so sophisticated, so deeply hidden. Viridian slowly began to heal, but it was a different city. The Obsidian Killer had not merely taken lives. He had stripped away its innocence, its trust, its comfortable illusion of security. The black obsidian stones became a dark legend, a reminder that some truths are best left buried, and that sometimes the greatest monsters are not those who lurk in the shadows, but those who stand proudly in the light, daring to call their cruelty justice. The city learned, in the most brutal way imaginable, that the most terrifying secrets are not just those that are kept, but those that are revealed by a hand guided by darkness.